when did you first know that you wanted to work in the creative arts?
I think for me, I've always, all my career has been in a creative environment. Maybe one of the lucky ones since school. I've known that I've sort of wanted to follow something to do with art. I was obsessed by it when I was at school. And I went on to do a diploma in art and design, and then I did a degree in fashion and textiles. So my years previous to the island, because I've lived here for 6 years, was working in London as a fashion editor and a stylist, costume stylist. So I suppose I was able to use my creativity then within that environment. And then coming to the island, it was just a natural progression. We moved onto a houseboat in Bembridge, and I just think that helped sort of unleash all the creativity that I needed to get out, and it started from there. And it's been quite overwhelming. It's been amazing. I think once my daughter was born, I had to relook at my life a little bit, because I've always been a bit of a workaholic, and I think that can be quite detrimental sometimes unless you get that balance right. And I think maybe coming to the island, Link, my partner, and myself readdressed it somewhat by moving onto the houseboat, but we quickly fell back into our old ways, and I just get so caught up in my work. I mean, I love my painting, but then I love doing my collage and stitched pieces, and it's just it can sound quite boring actually, but it is all of my life really, I suppose, my work. My years in the fashion industry did give me a lot of benefits, as in I did have to be organised, and I had to sort of be motivated, and I had to be creative. And it's quite a package to ask for a creative person, to have all of those skills, I suppose. I still struggle with them. I'm lucky that I have a very understanding partner who sort of can help things along a bit, but it's something I want to do so passionately that I will make it work, whatever. I mean, it's hard as well. It's not something where you're earning bags of money, but then I don't think that's the intention of it for me. It's having that freedom to be creative and still make a living out of it, and then be able to sort of survive. So, yeah, it's tough though, very tough. I was quite lucky. I started exhibiting my work pretty much when I'd arrived on the island, about a year into my time here. And I think part of it was just finding like-minded people around, which was just brilliant. We lived in Bembridge then, and I met a girl called Holly Maslin. She's also an artist. She does poetry and painting. And it was a show called Bembridge Beaux Arts that Holly had put on with other artists, and she still runs it each year. And it was just a phenomenal success. And I remember selling my first painting, and it was really quite hard to let it go, because I was so proud as well of achieving that. It felt like I'd climbed a great height. And from there it's just taken off. So yeah, I'll never forget that. And I also feel very humbled that someone wants to see a piece of my artwork and have it in their home, or pay me some money for it. And I still find that it's just really wonderful. It's a really cool thing. But I think also, I mean, when I look at my pieces of artwork, it's like looking at a diary for me. Each piece is sort of telling a story of that time. And it's that narrative really. And so for that time and that moment in time, it was very valid, and it was just right for that moment. And the pieces now that I'm doing are just right for the moment now. I think that you could just sort of lose yourself in something like that when you stand in front of it, because of its size. So, and for me, I suppose moving from a houseboat, which was tiny, and I had a little studio on the houseboat, so my work was very small then. I suppose you just expand to suit your environment, and now I've got my new studio, well, that's it. So the next piece might be as big as the wall, I don't know. But yeah, it's lovely to be able to spread out and really sort of let go with the paint.
So that piece of artwork on the wall behind you, can you just talk me through the process of creating that, and how long does it take?
It's funny because some pieces are very immediate, and I work very spontaneously, and then they almost create themselves when they're being sort of born, as it were. And then other pieces, they put up a fight. You know, there's a struggle going on, and it could take me. I mean, this particular piece was actually started in my previous studio, which used to be the old garage here. So it's had quite a journey, this one. But it needed that time to, I sort of revisit a canvas if it's needing to be left alone, and I often work on a few at once. And a few other pieces, so say if I'm doing a stitched piece or sort of an installation piece, it just depends where I am at the time and my environment, but sometimes the struggle often makes it quite an endearing piece for me, because I know how the journey's been. It's maybe been quite an uphill journey. I mean, this piece is called Dream because I think it's the whole visualisation of us moving here and being in this new environment, and it's sort of rebirth and it's hope and joy, although there's been some sadness as well along the way because it's quite an emotional journey. But yeah, it brings all sorts, but I don't think you necessarily have to know that story behind the painting. I think you could stand in front of it and hopefully it'll enable you to have your own emotional sort of outlet as well, without me having to sort of explain it necessarily.
What exactly inspires your creativity?
It's an emotional response, I suppose. It's as simple as that for me. I suppose, as I said previously, looking at each piece is a visual diary for me. So as I paint or I sort of sew or collage each piece, it's very much to do with place and where I am at the time. And also I'm very interested in history and stories behind things, so I think that comes through with my work as well. So it's quite emotive and just all that power of nostalgia, I suppose, in a way. But yeah, I'm very, very lucky to be able to have that, just have an outlet for that, really.
So what do you think it is about the island that helps your creativity?
This spot is magical. We're near ancient woodlands, which if you walk through, you can get to the beach, and it's a beach that it's very unruly and nobody goes down there very much. It's lovely. It's got all the trees falling into it, and we're very near the Abbey, so you hear the Abbey bells. There's just something quite magical about this part of the island. You feel quite remote, so you feel like you've got space around you, but at the same time you're minutes away from, you know, Ryde or Newport. Well, not far anyway, but you're near enough to sort of be near civilization and for me to get to the mainland, because a lot of my work's on the mainland as well. So yeah, it's a good spot. I don't think we realise how much is here on the island. And if you do start scratching the surface, it's just amazing. When I first came to the island, there used to be a very small show each year called Open Studios, and that's grown and grown. I mean, now there's more than 100 artists that take part in Open Studios, and it's open in the summer, and there's a directory that's been made, and artists either get together or they have their own studios open and show their work. And I just feel there's always something going on. There's always projects to be had. If you want to bother going out there and sort of collaborating with people or talk to people about things, Key Arts do an artist network each month where you can get together. So if you were new to the island, like myself, only 6 years ago, there are places that you can tap into, and I think it's really quite amazing. It's quite astounding as well, and also the cross-section of work that people are doing out there. It's lovely to work with another artist who works in a different practice, and you've got so much in common, and there's so many things to sort of enrich yourself with from it. I think it's just up to the individual to sort of open those doors really and make that happen. Yeah, we're very lucky.